Hi, greetings. Welcome back to another episode of the Rise Up Mama podcast. I know it's been a while, so for those of you who do regularly tune in, I do appreciate you coming back and checking out the message. So tonight I am with an incredible woman. I've met her online, but we clicked immediately. Her name is Sarah Alder, and she's a family mealtime mentor, helping families to really get across these challenges that we all have. So, if you've got a family, you'll relate. If you're a single man or woman, you're going to relate to this as well. And what we're doing next week is we will be coming back with another episode of the Health and Wellbeing Café. So I'm going to give you links and more information about that shortly. So Sarah is the guest contributor for that session. But as you know, I like to have a chat with my contributors before we really get into the nitty-gritty, just to get to know each other more. So Sarah, thank you so much for being here. It's
Thank you for having me.
amazing. Oh, wow. How is life? Everything good?
Everything's going good. It's been a great start to the new year. Thank you. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, as you know, I did have some sickness at the beginning of the year, unfortunately, and I've had bereavement as well. But, it's one of those things where I know that the brighter days are definitely coming my way. So I'm very excited about
Absolutely.
2022. I'm delighted and honoured that you're going to be my first contributor at next week's Health and Wellbeing Cafe. So thank you so much for that.
Very welcome.
And
I'm excited to be sharing my tips with everyone next week.
I know, brilliant meal planning success.
I'm
Fantastic.
on a mission to get the world meal planning, I'll tell you.
Well, it sounds like a very, very important mission. I've done a little bit of digging of the women who are going to be joining us on the live session. So I've asked them some questions. I'll weave that into our conversation as we go along.
Brilliant.
But before I do, let's find out a little bit about you, if that's okay.
Yeah, I'm in the hot
So
seat.
I've got my questions over here, so I might be light over there. But I just want to find out, what was your background? What were you doing before you became a family meal time mentor? What was life like for you?
Yeah, completely different. So I trained as a translator and I worked in translation management for a couple of years. I then moved into project management. I subsequently set up a business with a friend of mine after we got made redundant. Running a business was never anything on my radar. I never envisaged doing it. I had no role models in that respect and always thought that I would be employed. But my friend, a visionary and extremely creative lady, she convinced me to do it. And I went along with it.
Wow. So let's rewind a little bit, because I'm intrigued. Translation, which languages are we talking about?
French and Spanish, I trained. Yeah.
I'm learning Spanish. I'm not going to reveal my Spanish skills on this call, but I am.
Please don't test me. It's been a very long time.
Well, I use Duolingo, so the learning app. Yeah. In fact, for my listeners of the podcast, that's why I haven't been doing the podcast, because I've been doing languages at night. I'm absolutely loving it.
I'm sure we'll be forgiven.
I'm on 265 days as an ongoing streak. Yeah. And do you know where that came from?
It's addictive, isn't it?
It is addictive.
It's so much good fun.
Yeah, I cannot remember who I'm linked to on LinkedIn, but I can recall one of my associate and contacts over there posted, it was definitely a woman, and she was on day 50 of learning Spanish. And I think I was thinking about it. I can't remember if I was really getting into it. And I thought, 50 days, gosh, I wonder if I could do it. And I went for it and I'm on 265 now.
I think that's the way to do it though, isn't it? A little bit each day, tiny
Exactly.
bits, tiny steps. I think it's like with anything, isn't it? Whether you're picking up a new habit, learning a new skill, a little bit at a time, and it's that compound effect, isn't it? Where it pays off.
15 minutes, and I suppose it's a bit like cooking. Keep going with those cooking skills. So let's just find out then, how did you get started? So this is really interesting. You were doing, I mean, even project management I can relate to, because I'm still a project manager working for my employer. So this is, you know, something that I do part-time, the coaching at the moment. But tell me how you got started doing this, you know, wonderful gift that you're obviously sharing with lots of families.
Yeah, so I was running that business and doing the project management for just over 15 years. And I guess my story is not a huge amount different to many other mums. And the reason why so many mums set up in business, and that is because I had my children. Going back to work just wasn't flexible enough. I didn't have the time to dedicate to them. And I decided it was time to take a break. It was time to look after myself. My health was failing. I was stressed and anxious all the time. And I was hopeful that by setting up in business by myself, I'd get a bit more of that work-life balance that everybody is striving for. I'm certainly a lot happier in having done it. And it was something that I wanted to follow my passion, and I was keen to be able to help people in a meaningful way. The work I was doing, it was great, but it was in that corporate environment. Yes, I was helping people, but it didn't feel meaningful to me. So it was a drive to follow my passion and do something where I could share my skills with other people. And that's, you know, I decided to go into it, to give it a go. I'd regret it if I didn't do it. And here I am, almost 4 years later. My business growing slowly, because it does when you're working part-time and you've got a family and you are trying to find that balance. But it's going from strength to strength, and I haven't looked back. I really haven't. So yeah, I'm really pleased that I took the leap.
A leap of faith. This
Yeah.
is absolutely amazing, Sarah. So I just want to go back to what you said. You said so many nuggets, which again, I know the mums, particularly the mums on this call, will relate to. That work-life balance, you know, as women, we've taken on so much. Not to say that the men in our life don't take on a lot as well, but you know, even we've scheduled this call for after bedtime. You know,
Yes,
my
absolutely.
partner's upstairs with Zenta. So, and Zenta's still awake. I can hear the little patter of tiny feet. But you know, as a mum, I have literally spent a day doing my work, being with Zenta. I posted a picture today actually of that we took at lunchtime. Zenta and I, we had some time in the park. I've had so many beautiful comments about this photograph, but that was the balance, you know, doing a bit of this, 15 minutes here, 20 minutes there. I've still cooked a very, what I would call healthy and balanced meal, even though tonight's was leftovers, to be fair. But I
Yeah, well,
cooked
that's
last
for the win,
night.
though, isn't it?
But
Leftovers for the win.
exactly, but you know what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah,
where
absolutely. The
we've
day is scheduled
taken on
around
so
the
much.
children, isn't it?
Definitely. But, you know, how did you get started then? Why was it meals? You said it was your skills and you had, you know, were you often cooking for other people? Were you getting a lot of positive feedback from others? How did it really start?
Yeah, so I've been in the kitchen with my mum and grandma from a very, very early age and picking up skills from them. My passion for food and for cooking developed over the years. When I left for uni and I was fending for myself, I discovered a whole world of ingredients that didn't, you know, even enter our house. And it just evolved from there. And I was blog writing around food. I was thinking, well, I am thinking about food the whole time, developing recipes. I was helping friends and family members with their meal planning and teaching people to cook. I was constantly sharing tips, and I thought, I can make something of this. This is what makes me buzz. This is my calling.
I
This is
can
what
see
I'm
it. I can
born
see
to
it, Mama.
do. So that's where it started, and it was about wanting to share my passion for being in the kitchen and all things food, and it was wanting to be able to support people to learn those fundamental life skills that I think, very fortunate to learn from my mum and grandma. And yet so many people don't have that opportunity anymore. We are out at work. My mum was at home for those very early years of my life. That was her job, was to look after us. But we're going back out to work as women, and home ec, and cooking isn't something that you do at school anymore. So you just don't have those opportunities so often now to learn those skills that I truly believe I was fortunate to learn. And families are struggling now to know how to feed the family, to be able to do that, feed them nutritious food, and to feed them well on a budget, to really make the most of the ingredients that are available to them. So that was how it was born, really.
Wow. And you know what I loved about your story there? The connection with your mother and your grandmother.
Yeah.
Because, thinking about my own life, I was raised by my grandmothers as well. I have had times in my life where I was in foster care, but even, one of my foster mums, I lovingly called, well, she's passed now, but lovingly called her grandma. So that real,
Beautiful.
yeah, what grandma can show you in the kitchen is just amazing. So I love the mother's touch. I love knowing that
Yeah.
your mum was there, but also that you were so influenced by your grandmother. That is
Yeah,
so
my
beautiful.
grandmother died when I was really quite young still, but she's always there in the kitchen with me. I remember those formative years with her, where, and just her ability to be able to feed a huge crowd of people at a drop of a hat with seemingly no food. We're not a rich family at all, a very poor working class Yorkshire family, and yet people would just drop in. They lived across the road from the rugby club, and people from all over, friends, family, they were all aunts and uncles, but they weren't aunts and uncles, and no idea who half of them were. But they'd all just pour into the house,
Yeah.
and she would feed them. And just an incredible lady.
That's reminded me of a story that I heard at my foster mum passed away quite recently,
Yeah.
and this was one of the stories that was shared at the funeral. How did grandma, where did she find, how did she feed all these people? So yeah, I definitely relate to that. I love that. I love that. So if somebody wanted to pursue a career like yours, so what you're doing right now, particularly because we've touched on the fact that, as a mom, you were looking for something that could work around your family life, how would they get started? What advice would you give them if they wanted to come into this? And I'm not sure what this industry is called, so please.
I don't know. I mean, we're making it up as we're going.
The
I think that's the thing, isn't it?
homemaker industry.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? For anyone, young people in particular, the world is your oyster. When I was at school and it was talking about what careers you would go into, it was very much you pigeonholed into, librarian, teacher, engineer. It was there was such set career paths that you would go on. But nowadays you can make up a job in whatever you want, and succeed at that,
And
can't
be
you? It's
successful.
just, dream big. I listened to an audio book recently, The Lemonade Stand, and it's all about squeezing the lemons. So, identifying opportunities, gaps in markets, problems, and they're all lemons waiting to be squeezed. And I mean, I absolutely loved it. But it really is about dreaming big and following your passion and try and make it work, but understanding, especially as a mum in business, that working for yourself really isn't easy. It isn't the easy option to leave a job and set up your own business at all. In fact, I think from experience, it's the hard way, the hard route. It takes hard work, perseverance, commitment, trying to juggle family around the work as well. You really do have to stick with it. But honestly, I think if you follow your dreams, it'll pay off. And you might not be the richest in terms of money for quite a while. We do hear of those people with the 6-figure, 10-figure incomes, but try and take that off your radar. You're not going to be the richest in terms of money for a while, but your life will be so much richer for doing it, for sure.
It sounds like you're talking about me, Sarah. I absolutely love it. So what I wanted to add as well, you said about you were blogging before you actually started to develop your business model. And there's so many famous bloggers who've really focused on food. Food is really a very intriguing hot topic, particularly when it comes to social media, people being interested. I mean, I know that obviously you do post about food in your groups and things like that, but even for myself, I've got a program called 21-Day Nutrition Club, and that's about sharing the healthy meals that we're eating, and people love it. Do you know what I mean? They love sharing. Oh, this is what I had. So there is such, and you said it yourself, be passionate. If you've got that passion, then actually, even when you're facing the tough times in whatever industry you decide to go in, it's the passion that will fuel, well, for me personally, the passion fuels the commitment to carry on. And as I've been reminded, I was listening to a talk even up to yesterday, and the woman who was speaking, she's a mum as well, and she just reminded us, keep going, because the gold is so close, and if you walk away, you could literally have been, what is it, 6 feet away from the gold. There's like a famous saying where you see the man with the hand pick picking away. So I love that message, so thank you.
And I think as well, to celebrate your successes along the way, it's little steps towards the goal, isn't it? I say that a lot with my clients in terms of transforming Mealtimes. It's like, have that goal in mind, but you've got to celebrate the successes along the way, no matter how small they seem, because that's what keeps you going, and recognizing those successes keeps you motivated, and see how far you've come as well.
So as we've just mentioned some examples about families, I want to bring in one of the questions I've been asking the women who have already booked in to be with us next Thursday. I've been asking them what are their biggest struggles around meal planning. So one of the comments that came back was making food that a toddler would eat. What do you say to families that are struggling with this particular aspect, Sarah, please?
So a common question I get asked is for recipes of family-friendly meals. And actually, I believe that any meal can be family-friendly. Just because one family one child won't eat curry, that doesn't make it not family friendly, because in another family, curry might be on the menu several times a week. So actually it's about how you present the food to children, and to think of a meal that you would like to eat and the component parts of that meal, and then what else could you add to it to make it acceptable to others. So some other bits of foods, some other ingredients that someone else is going to like, other ingredients that are preferred foods for your child, and serve it all in the middle of the table and allow everyone to help themselves to as much or as little as they like. Now, your toddler might help themselves initially to a great big helping of their preferred food that they're comfortable with, that they know, that's safe to them and that they like. They'll satiate an appetite. But once they've done that, they're more likely then to come back and explore some of the other foods. Now, it might take a little time before they start exploring the broccoli, but, persevere. Again, it's about perseverance. It's about sticking with it and being consistent in your approach. And over time, they'll start exploring foods, and following exploration comes actually eating it. So,
wow, that was amazing. And I love the idea of putting the food in the middle of the table. That is incredible.
And you'd be surprised just how much more open children are to exploring foods if it's in the middle of the table and they're in control of what and how much of it they take. And if they've had that opportunity with a preferred food to kind of take away the initial hunger. If you plate up the food, it can be overwhelming for them. So it can, even if you think it's a small portion, it can seem like a mountain of food to a child, especially in the evening, because, they front load their day with food, and the amount that they need and the amount that they eat drops off. So by dinner time, a few mouthfuls sometimes is all they need. And you've plated up with what seems like this humongous plateful, and they just can't face it, which means they don't eat anything.
So that's why Zenta didn't eat his meal this evening then.
Yeah, quite possibly. If they have got, we call them fussy eaters. I really don't like the term, but it's what we understand, isn't it? When they're picky with food and restrict the foods that they eat. But if there is something on their plate that they don't like or they don't know, then that as well can put them off the whole plateful. So give them some control. We talk about division of responsibility in feeding, and that's where we're responsible as the grown-ups for when and where our children eat, and the hopefully mostly nutritious foods that are on offer. And our children then are responsible for what and how much of that food that's on offer that they eat. So by putting the food in the middle of the table, that's it, that's our job done. The rest is up to our children.
Wow.
And it's a way of developing a really positive attitude to food. It's a way of allowing them to follow those natural instincts that they have for whether they're full or for hunger, and their body's natural instincts for knowing what they need to eat. So some children will need a huge amount of carbs one day, and then their body will recognize that they need some fruit another day, and they won't touch carbs. So it's allowing them to follow those instincts and that intuition.
Gosh, that's amazing. And what was really coming to my mind is that will really bring the family meal time together.
Yeah,
I really love that.
Yeah, absolutely. We call it family time rather than family meal time. Reframing it, so it's a time, quality family time. Just so happens you're around the table and you're sharing food together.
Wow, powerful. So let's go back to you then, Sarah. I want to know, who are the 3 people who've influenced you the most? Now, you might want to respond in terms of your business or in terms of your life in general. It's up to you. But who are these 3 people? Who are your influencers?
Okay, so we've already talked about my mum and my grandma, so they're the top of my list. Um, and then the other one, in terms of my personal life and what got me to where I am, looking back, this was a difficult question for me, but looking back, Jamie Oliver is kind of high up there for me, in having quite an influence on me and the way that I work and the way that I see food. And I was drawn into his cooking shows way back when I was at uni, and he was just starting out as the Naked Chef. And it was then that I was finding my own style in the kitchen, and I was really drawn to his energy and his enthusiasm, the way he got really hands-on with food in a natural form. You know, it was no more of this Delia Smith prescriptive way of working. And that really stuck with me. And then I've found over the years that the way that I work and the way that I teach has probably drawn an influence from him in the way that I support people to cook intuitively, to look at what they're cooking, to smell what they're cooking, to understand, you know, ingredients and how they work together, and substitutes that you can use if you haven't got whatever, and just really getting hands-on with the food to understand it. And then in terms of developing my recipes and writing them, about sharing helpful ways and information about, you know, what to look for and what to smell for when you're cooking, instead of saying, you know, cook for 5 minutes, because, you know, I could cook for 5 minutes one day and it's done, and another day is burnt, you know. So yeah, I think he really did have an influence over me. And then my third choice was my friend with whom I set up in business previously. She was a massive inspiration to me, though now sadly departed. But I still think when I'm stuck now and with some aspects of my business, or not really being sure of how to communicate with a client, when I'm struggling to motivate myself to sell, because that was her natural ability. I was the project manager, she was the creative and the salesperson. I still think now, what would Emma do? And it really does help me focus and find a path through. I learned a huge amount from her, I really did, and I wouldn't be here doing what I'm doing if it weren't for her.
Oh, wow. She sounds like an incredible, inspirational woman.
Absolutely.
And, you know, actually having her memory with you as you continue is just amazing. And I loved what you were saying there about Jamie Oliver. I've not personally studied him myself as closely as what you're describing, but I definitely know what you mean about energy. That he's just got it, hasn't he?
He
And
does, yeah.
as you were speaking, I remembered that my middle son, so I talk about Zenta as though he's the only offspring that I've got. I've actually got, oh dear. So my middle son has just gone into following, I'm going to say it's his natural gift. So being in the kitchen, again, watching mummy, and he outcooks me, and I'm a good cook.
Brilliant.
Okay. He was also influenced by my grandmother, so she would have been, sorry, his great grandmother.
Yeah.
But he spent a lot of time with her, and he's just got a role in a restaurant.
Fantastic.
In the city where we live, and it's a good. I mean, he runs his own area. You know, he's really, and the buzz. And I was saying to him, but Malikin, you are actually really naturally gifted in the kitchen, because over the years he's tried different things, and he's still got a passion for music and production. But again, he's a creative soul. So I can just see him now. We've not had an opportunity to go to the restaurant yet. We will book in. They only opened in December. But I've got this vision of my son doing his thing in the kitchen and just that energy. Because, like I said, for someone like Jamie Oliver, the energy and the passion, it's in his personality. So I'm not
Yeah,
surprised that
yeah,
he's been so successful. And I feel the same about
yeah,
my son, that he will be a success in the industry of catering and hospitality if he really puts his mind to this. So
yeah. Fantastic. Well,
fantastic.
best of luck to him and how
Oh,
it goes.
thank
You'll have to let me
you.
know how your
I
trip to the restaurant
will.
goes. Yeah.
Yeah, I will do.
I think the other thing with Jamie Oliver as well is that he went down that teaching route as well, and opening up
Yeah,
opportunities in kitchens for disadvantaged
yes,
children, and then his work with trying to improve food in schools and all of the campaigning that he's
yeah.
done as well, which is
He's
fantastic.
pushed the boundaries, hasn't he?
Yeah, yeah,
And really put a spotlight on certain
yeah.
things. So absolutely amazing. So Jamie's got some proud moments. Let's speak
I'm
about
sure he
yours.
does.
What are your proudest moments, please, Sarah? Please share some with us.
This again is really tough, isn't it? Tough question to answer, I think. I'm proud of so many achievements in my life and of my family. Proud to have a family, it's uh, really does mean a lot to me, does family. But I'm probably most proud of the way that I have developed personally over the last few years. I feel like bit of a cliche, but I've become a butterfly finally.
Oh,
For years and years, I lacked confidence and I just hid inside myself. And finally, I've found a way to express myself and to be comfortable doing that. I'll always be an introvert. But now I'm happy to share myself with the world, and feel that I have a value to share. I've found what that value is and that my reason why. Um,
mm,
and I really would have previously have described myself as a glass half empty kind of person, but now I really am more of a glass half full. So yeah, so proud of where I've come from and where I've got to. It's work in progress for sure, but yeah, rather than that stress and anxiety controlling my life, dominating my life, I've been able to explore life more to the full and to have fun as well, bring more fun into my life. So yeah, so where I
that's
previously would have
fantastic.
said no to things automatically, now my answer is yes, and then panic initially and then plan how I'm going to get out of it and what I'm going to do. So
Well,
um,
there is a famous quote by Richard Branson who said, when somebody gives you an opportunity, even if you don't know how to do it, say yes anyway, and then you work out the details afterwards. So
yeah, absolutely. So
congratulations.
yeah, it's about saying yes. As long as it feels right and
Yeah,
it's well with my values, then I'm saying yes. And it's opening up doors and opportunities that I would never have, seen before. So yeah,
fantastic.
be brave.
So I've just shared a quote and I'm just looking on my question list. The next question is about one of your quotes, Sarah. So
Yes, I
what's one
got
of
from a
your
famous
that isn't
person.
one of my favorite quotes. It's just something that I do it sticks out with me. But what's
Yeah,
one of your
it's a good
favorite
one. Yeah.
quotes?
So it's not by a famous person, as far as I'm aware. He's not famous, but it's a quote from my junior school head teacher, and he used to share with us during assembly. Only my best is good enough for me. And this is a value that has stayed with me, a saying that has stuck with me from junior school. I really can only ever do my best, and I put my all into everything that I do. And with that, I can't have any regrets, can I? Just done my best, and that's good enough for me.
Oh, that is incredible. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. All right. So I'm just looking down here because I've got one of those other, I asked the women, what's your biggest challenge around meal planning? So I've got a response here that says coming up with different ideas of what to eat. I'm sure you've heard this one before, Sarah. What's your response to that?
Yes, so there's a few ways around that. Follow me, and I've got lots of ideas and inspiration. So I share my meal plans on a Sunday to give people ideas as to what to cook. I share a recipe of the week on a Monday as well. If you're really stuck though, if you're doing some meal planning, you can theme your meal plans. So, common ones are meat-free Monday and taco Tuesday. And it really does help to support those ideas. You can put lots of variety into your weeks, but you've got that theme to support you and to help you with your thinking without being overwhelmed. So that's a really useful way. And if you're really stuck, then you can break a meal down into its component parts. So what protein are you going to serve? With what carbs? With which vegetables? And then what do you need to bring it together? So sauces and dressings and nuts and seeds and herbs and spices that then just bring it all to life.
That's fantastic. Well done. Thank you. So I wanted to ask you again about the future and just wondering, are you planning to launch any new programs? You've spoken about the set things and the recipes that you share, but do you have a program or anything that you would like to tell us about that's coming up for you and your business, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So I'm going to continue to focus on working one-to-one with my clients, and people can work with me either through booking a 1 hour support session. So I have support sessions both for family meal times and also for meal planning. And then I've also got my How to Feed Your Fussy Eater course and my Making Food and Your Money Go Further course. Or I can do cookery skills sessions as well. So I'm going to be focusing on one-to-one this year. It's
taking individuals through the course, is that how it's structured?
Yes.
Wow.
So everything is tailored to you, your needs, your challenges, and your goals. So it's really where I can add value and really get to know families and the clients that I'm working with to make a huge difference to their meal times. So that's why I really want to focus on that this year. And I'll also be hosting regular masterclasses and workshops throughout the year. The first one's coming up on the 9th of February, and I'm doing a free Fussy Eater masterclass in the evening. Yeah.
So if you give me the link to that then, Sarah, I'll make sure that I post it underneath. This will go on as a podcast where it's voice only, but they can see the links, but also it will go on YouTube. So anyone who wants to see us, they will be able to see that and get the links as well. So thank you for that.
Yeah. So just watch out on my website and on my social media for upcoming masterclasses and workshops as I drop them in throughout the year.
Yeah, and of course you've got your Facebook page, so people can join the group. So let's go back to that idea of developing ourselves. And I want to say I'm an avid reader, but actually, as a busy mom, I have the book there. Like some nights I manage it and some nights I don't. I'm just being honest. Remember, I'm doing my Spanish lessons.
Yes, you're doing very well.
Oh, thank you. But I just wanted to find out, what book are you reading at the moment, please, Sarah?
Yeah, so I'm like you. I've only just got back into reading, really. My children are 8 and 4, and I'm really pleased to have finally got back into something that I used to enjoy.
Yeah.
And I read 5 to 10 minutes each day. That's all I have, but it's enough. and it's manageable, and hopefully I can build on that, can't I? But I've been reading a lot of business and self-help books, but right now I'm really enjoying reading a novel for the first time in quite a while. I'm reading a book called The Various Flavors of Coffee, and that's by Anthony Capella. And when it comes to novels, I really enjoy a love story or stories that involve travel. And if they've got a food twist, all the better. This is coffee, so it kind of ticks the boxes. It's coffee and travel. So,
well, I'm thinking if they talk about travel, they must be talking about food somewhere, because as you know, if you go to a different culture, even the same ingredients could taste completely different by the way how it's been put together. So yeah, that's amazing. Thank you. All right, so I'm gonna just weave in one more. It's one of these challenges. So the response has come back from one of the women that will be coming on to say there hasn't been that much meal planning. They're actually eating ready meals. So the issue seems to be around food preparation. Do you have any thoughts for, I don't know if this woman's got a family, but anybody who's actually struggling with food preparation? What would you say there, please?
Yeah, so first of all, like, it's fine. We all end up with ready meals or fish fingers and frozen chips. So no guilt there, you know, it happens. And some nights it's an absolute necessary, and some nights that's your best, isn't
Yeah.
it? Going back to my quote.
Yeah.
But ways that you can enhance, if you are stuck there with a ready meal or something from the freezer, is thinking about what can you do to enhance that meal and add some nutrition, more nutrition to it. So, you know, bits and nuts and seeds and things that you can easily grab from the fridge, having some fruit afterwards, and maybe grabbing a carrot and having some carrot sticks alongside. So not feeling guilty about that, but what can you do to enhance it?
Yeah.
And then it's thinking about, you know, could you cook two nights a week, maybe, or start with one, you know, start and build up from there. But when you are cooking, thinking about what you can do to make life easier another day. So can you cook double of whatever you're doing or triple of whatever you're doing, so that you've then got food that you can portion off and either have in the fridge or the freezer or both. And it doesn't have to be whole meals either. It's what are you cooking, and can you cook extra of it? So can you cook extra chicken? Can you cook extra pasta or lentils or grains or whatever it is? You know, if you're doing some roast vegetables, it only takes a couple minutes more to chop up and roast off enough for 2 or 3 meals, and already, you know, you've given another meal, another day, a boost if necessary, or you've saved a lot of time and energy in having prepared some things in advance. So but if you can do some meal planning, then that really is helpful, because you can see at that point where the efficiencies lie. Where can you make life easier for yourself? What extra bits can you be cooking? What can go in the oven at the same time as what you're doing? You know, can you throw a jacket potato in for lunch the next day? So
Wow. That's incredible, Sarah. I mean, as I said, I just said it as a joke, really, but tonight's meal was leftovers from last night, because I knew that I was going to be busy this evening, and I really just wanted to focus on finishing my work and then obviously getting Zenta ready for bed, being part of the bedtime routine, and then getting ready for our conversation. So I loved how you described that. Thank you very much.
I absolutely love leftovers, you know, and
Oh,
I
and I was
eat
going to say they always
breakfast,
taste.
lunch, and dinner. The others in my house aren't leftover fans, which I am absolutely thrilled about, because it means they're for me.
Well, they always taste better the next day.
They
I
do.
really do find, I mean, what I cooked yesterday was corn pieces. Don't always have it, but I fancied it. But tonight I definitely felt as though, you know, the seasoning that I put on there, and I cooked it in tomato, pure tomato, um, not sauce. It's I can't remember what they call it, the passata or whatever it's called.
Exactly, yeah.
And it just tasted really great
Oh,
tonight. So
yeah,
brilliant. So Sarah, as we wrap up, I have a happiness habits club. Okay. And one thing I love my contributors to do, you've shared so many tips with us in this conversation, and I know there's more coming next week. So I'm really excited to hear more about what you're doing and how I can put those tips into my life. I'm excited about putting the food in the middle of the table. But do you have a happiness habit or a happiness tip that you could leave with us tonight that we could weave into our life so it becomes a beautiful habit,
yeah. So
please?
I think that self-care and time for yourself is essential, and it's something that we put to the bottom of the list so often as mums, don't we? I used to think that it meant having a night out, a day out with friends, a spa treatment, you know, something massive, and it just didn't feel achievable, and it never happened. Um, but actually, micro habits work so much better, and they have that compound effect. They're sustainable, so they're going to be something that you stick with. So things like as I said before, reading just for 5 to 10 minutes a day. And then after drop off in the mornings, I do a 20-25 minute walk. And that's how I start my day. You know, I drop off, go for my walk, put the kettle on, my cup of tea, and then I start work. But it really puts me in the right frame of mind. I know I've had some time for me right at the beginning of the day. I've had a mindful walk around the park. I've heard the birds singing and the sun shining on my face, or getting pouring soaking wet through in the pouring rain, whatever the weather, I'm out there. But it's about picking whatever you enjoy or fancy doing, and it being achievable because it's only 5 to 10 minutes. And then I make it non-negotiable now, and it's scheduled in my calendar. So I have a reminder coming up to go for my walk, read my book. So I make it a priority that way. It's in my calendar, just like a work meeting is. So it has to happen.
Oh, that's fantastic. So scheduling self-love.
Yeah.
So for anyone who's really struggling in that area, you heard it here first. Get it in your diary. An
Yeah,
important,
absolutely.
important appointment.
It's the project manager and me. I think you'll hear
Oh,
it again
don't,
next week.
don't
I talk
worry.
about scheduling with meal planning as well.
Oh, that's fantastic. Brilliant. So, as we wrap up, would you like to tell the listeners and the viewers where they can connect with you online? I'm sure that we're going to have women who want to, you know, connect with you before the talk next week. And of course, the talk's going to be recorded as well. So, where can we find you online, please, Sarah?
Yeah, so my website is kitchentitbits.co.uk. I'm on Instagram with the handle @kitchentitbits. My Facebook business page is @kitchentitbits.sarah. Strange one, couldn't get this kitchen tidbits on its own. And then I've got my free Facebook group, which you're welcome to join, which is Stress-Free Family Mealtimes.
I'm in that one. I love it.
Yay.
Brilliant. Well, Sarah, it's been absolutely amazing to spend this time with you, have a chat, get to know you a bit more. I love your influences from your grandmother, your mom, your friend, Jamie Oliver. I really resonated with so much that you've shared with us this evening. So thank you for being here, shining a light on food. I can really hear that passion and excitement. You know, if we lived closer, I'd be like, oh, would it be possible for us to meet up so I could sample some of your delicious food? But I'm sure as we get to know each other along the years, we'll make something happen, and we'll have a meal together. That would be really, really nice to actually sit
Absolutely.
down and eat together. And yeah, I'm so excited about next week. So let me just give a nice plug here. For those of you who are not quite sure about the details of next week, it's the Health and Wellbeing Cafe. Sarah is the guest contributor. This is an online event. It's Thursday, the 27th of January at 8 o'clock. You do need to be registered for the event. So wherever you are viewing this or listening to this, you can send me an email at connect@vanessa-mary.com, and I will put your name on the email address, sorry, in email list, so that you receive the information for the Zoom link. So it's really important that you're on the email list to receive the Zoom link. If you're not able to join us for the live call, it will be recorded and it will be stored on my YouTube channel. So if you're listening via YouTube, then you will be on the channel. Please, if you do like the content of what we've shared this evening, and if you like the content on my channel, please remember to give me a like on YouTube, and also subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed over there. And don't forget to ring the bell either, because you're going to get the notifications of when the content's coming out over there. And yeah, I'm really excited to have you on that call, because it's a really nice, intimate conversation. You get to hear from the guest contributor. So Sarah will be sharing her talk, which is meal planning success. I love it. I'm really excited about that. I'll be telling you about digestive health. So, how can you get more fiber into your diet? So I think the two of us together, Sarah, that's
Absolutely,
going to
be a good conversation.
I'm excited about that. Plus, I always do a personal development session anyway within the talk. So, there's lots on store waiting for you next week. So make sure that you connect us. Give me your email address and we'll see you next week on the call. You take care and thanks for tuning in. Thank you so much, Sarah, for being with me this evening. Thank you.
It's been lovely chatting.
You too, darling.